Vladimir Putin has long built his image as Russia's great protector, portraying himself as the man who shields the nation from chaos and external threats. For years, this strongman persona has defined his political career, both domestically and on the world stage. But cracks are beginning to show, and the carefully crafted facade is crumbling under the weight of mounting challenges. From military blunders to political dissent, Putin is facing one of the most precarious moments of his leadership. Stay updated with the latest global news and insights. Subscribe to World Geopolitics and hit the bell icon to never miss an update. One of the earliest signs of trouble came during the Moscow theater hostage crisis in 2022. This tragedy revealed deep flaws in Russia's security apparatus and cast doubt on Putin's ability to maintain control. Instead of demonstrating strength, his response showed a leader struggling to manage his own military and intelligence forces. British analyst Roger Boyes described the incident as a disaster for Putin's reputation, marking a key moment where the image of the unshakable protector began to falter. Fast forward to 2024 and the situation has only worsened. In August, Ukrainian forces launched a surprise invasion of the Kursk region, capturing approximately 400 square miles of Russian territory. Despite Kremlin statements claiming the invasion had been swiftly contained, the reality on the ground tells a different story. Ukrainian troops continue to hold their positions, and Putin's inability to reclaim the territory has fueled growing dissatisfaction among the Russian people. For a leader who has always projected strength through military dominance, this failure is a significant blow. Adding to the challenges, Ukraine has taken the fight directly to Russian soil. A drone strike on Moscow in September 2024 caused significant damage, killing one civilian and rattling the Russian capital. These attacks highlight vulnerabilities that many Russians never thought possible under Putin's rule. The so-called protector now faces questions about his ability to defend the very heart of the nation. This erosion of trust is compounded by the ongoing war in Ukraine, which has dragged on far longer than anyone expected. What began as a special military operation has turned into a drawn-out conflict with staggering casualties. Over 696,000 Russian soldiers killed or injured as of late 2024, according to Ukrainian sources. Domestically, Putin's struggles extend far beyond military setbacks. Public sentiment is shifting, and dissatisfaction with his leadership is on the rise. In March 2024, a protest movement called Noon Against Putin saw thousands of Russians showing up at polling stations to vote against him or spoil their ballots in defiance of what they viewed as a rigged election. While Putin still won with 87% of the vote, the fact that such a protest occurred at all in his tightly controlled regime is telling. It signals that the political apathy he has relied on for years may be giving way to a more vocal opposition. This growing discontent isn't limited to ordinary citizens. Even within the Kremlin, fractures are becoming apparent. In 2024, Putin reshuffled key figures in his government, sidelining potential rivals like Nikolai Patrushev and replacing Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu with Andrei Belousov. These moves suggest an attempt to consolidate power, but they also reveal the increasing instability within Putin's inner circle. Analysts argue that these changes highlight Putin's fear of losing control, both over the military and his political base. Perhaps even more alarming for Putin is the rebellion brewing among two groups he once relied on: mercenaries and oligarchs. Mercenary groups like Wagner, which played a critical role in the early stages of the Ukraine war, are now openly challenging his authority. In June 2023, Wagner leader Yevgeny Prigozhin led a brief but dramatic revolt, seizing military installations and marching on Moscow before being subdued. Although Prigozhin later died in a suspicious plane crash, his rebellion marked a turning point. More recently, another mercenary leader, Georgy Zakrevsky, called on Russian soldiers to abandon their posts in Ukraine and turn against Putin. Zakrevsky's fiery rhetoric painted the Russian president as weak and ineffective, urging military forces to rise up and save the country from disaster. At the same time, Russia's oligarchs, once thought to be firmly under Putin's thumb, are beginning to voice their discontent. Business tycoon Oleg Deripaska recently criticized Putin's handling of the war, calling for an unconditional ceasefire and denouncing the enormous financial costs of the conflict. Other oligarchs, like Arkady Volzo and Oleg Tinkov, have also spoken out against the invasion of Ukraine, with some even renouncing their Russian citizenship. While these dissenting voices are still in the minority, they represent a significant threat. The oligarchs have both the resources and influence to destabilize Putin's regime further. Economically, the strain of the war is becoming increasingly evident. Russia's economy is overheating, with inflation soaring to over 8% and interest rates at crippling levels. Although wartime spending has temporarily boosted GDP, experts warn that this growth is unsustainable. When the war ends, the financial bubble Putin has created could burst, leaving ordinary Russians to bear the brunt of rising costs and stagnant wages. This economic instability, combined with the public's growing dissatisfaction and the elite's increasing dissent, paints a bleak picture for Russia's future under Putin. The cracks in Putin's strongman image are impossible to ignore. He built his entire political career on the premise that he could protect Russia and restore its glory on the global stage. But the realities of the Ukraine war, combined with mounting domestic challenges, have shattered that illusion. His failure to adapt to new crises, whether on the battlefield or at home, has left him vulnerable. As public confidence wanes, dissent within the Kremlin grows, and once loyal allies turn against him, the specter of civil unrest looms larger than ever. Could these factors lead to a full-scale civil war in Russia? While such a scenario may still seem unlikely, the warning signs are there. Putin's once iron grip on power is weakening, and the forces aligning against him, from ordinary citizens to powerful elites, are becoming harder to ignore. The man who once seemed unassailable now faces a precarious future, with the very foundations of his rule at risk of collapse. For Vladimir Putin and for Russia, the coming months could prove to be a defining moment in history.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am back with
Danger ahead.
another brand new video for you. In this video, I bring a content in which famous politician and writer Peter Zeihan discuss about ongoing war of Ukraine Russia. He has discussed how Ukraine strike backs, how Putin lost 400 miles of Russian territory. So guys, this video will be very interesting. So please watch until the end and share your opinions about the video. Guys, if you really want to be updated about Russia, then you can subscribe my channel.
Marked a location.
रुको।
Guys, please thank you for watching until then. Now I am going to end this video. I will be back with another content.